Don the Auction Professor. Today is Sunday, so we are going to go and do a What Sold on eBay video as usual. And again, it's just random items I picked. I'm going to add some comments and some things, maybe some sourcing comments too. But we're going to go over to the screen and I'm going to show you some of what we sold this past week. Okay, as always, I just picked some random items. I threw pretty much a little bit of everything in here. I threw a couple records in here just to give you an idea. I had several people ask if I'd show records so I could see, so I could show them exactly which type I buy and sell. So I've got some of that in here, and I've got some odder items in here. Now, I bought a set of these. These are Oddfellows. I know the pictures aren't great. These have been up for about a year and a half. I've never been a real big fan of China, but anything Oddfellows I usually take a shot on. I had a serving set of 4 coffee cups and saucers along with the teapot and cream and sugar. I sold the coffee pot and cream and sugar separately, and then I sold 2 right away of the cup and saucer sets to somebody else. And then like 6 months ago I sold the 3rd one, and now the last one's gone. So in a year and a half it took to sell these. But I sold the coffee pot right away, and I doubled my money just off the coffee pot and creamer. And then I sold the first 2 coffee cups within, let's say, the first week of them being up. And again, then I even tripled and quadrupled my profits on it. Altogether, I made like, I don't know, $125 on this. So if I have to spend, $1 or something to list this last one to get the rest of it out, that's fine. It sold for $15.99, and they paid shipping. So even at this, I still made another $12-14 off of this. So again, I don't buy hardly any pottery, china, or anything else like that. But the fraternal ones and the vintage ones and the historical ones I do. This one I think I listed in the fraternal section as well too. But it's Oddfellows, Rebecca. They're marked oddly. If you haven't seen them before, it's Bone China Stafford. So anyway, it's just a fraternal piece. Let's see, next one here. Now, I've showed some of these in a haul. I want to say I spent $25 on a whole bunch of these. Maybe it was more than that. I don't remember anymore. It's been so long. But we've sold like 7 or 8 different groupings of these. This one went for $25, and I have nothing into these now because I sold a couple right off the bat the very first day. I listed them, and then I sold some parts, and I still actually have like half of this lot that I haven't even listed yet. This is one of those things I'll get up for Christmas. But as I said, I've sold a bunch of these. We've like quadrupled our money or more. I've made like $300 or $400 off of these things already. And again, I still have like half of parts and pieces of these items still to sell. And now here's an Abraham Lincoln postcard. Now, I've sold like, I think 3 Lincoln postcards. Any of the Lincoln postcards I put up, I pretty much sell fairly quickly. I took $12.50 on this one. I think the last one I got 15 out of. They're all different though, so you never know. But any with Abraham Lincoln on them from like 1910, 1909 is really what you want. I think that's the centennial of his birth or something like that. But anyway, so that was a decent one. I have like 50 cents into this one and the other one that I sold. Now this one I know I've shown. This is a stereo view. Now this is just in typical stereo view. It's nothing special. There's really nothing in it. You can't see any scenery or buildings. And there's a ton to this set. This is card 75 out of like 100 and some odd card set. And I got $175. I just threw up some high price. I took less than a third of what my asking price was. But again, you never know on these. The gentleman pointed out some information that I wasn't aware of. And it's potluck. I have no idea what this is worth. I got like $1 into it. So, I'm not going to worry at all. I've made a couple $100 off the first couple that I sold. So right now we're like $600 in profit off of this one little stack of stereo videos I had. And I'm sure I showed it in a haul from like last month actually. But let's move on here. Another postcard, $14.50, sold immediately within, say, an hour or so of it going up. And again, that's why I said I usually sell 3 to 5% of every one, every grouping that I list. So if I list 100 cards, 3 to 5% of those are gone that first very day. Sometimes it's way higher than that. This last grouping, it was like 6 or 7 sold out of the first 100. And that was the average for the next day, too. Plus, of course, whatever we sold that day normally, the normal items that were already up. Now this one was pretty interesting. This is like a quack medicine card. It's actually a very nice looking card. The violets are really well done for the era that this was made in. It's an early prang, 1878. Really nice one. I know I've got 1880s up here. I guess I just didn't see the date on the bottom. But either way, it's a nice card. We took $37.50 on that one.
Again, pennies into these. Again, another dollar postcard here. We got 20 bucks out of this one. This one was up for maybe 6 hours or so. And I took the offer at 20 because I know that these don't usually sell for more than, say, 8 or 10 bucks. So I've doubled what they sell for. I guess I could have held out for more, but I was very happy with that at what I spent on the card, the dollar or so what I spent on it. Jewelry wise, this one sold straight out for $57.50. I sell a lot of costume jewelry, you know, at least 1 or 2 pieces every day of the week. I've got hundreds of pieces of costume jewelry, and I've sold hundreds. They're usually pretty good, especially these early ones. Now, this one has amethyst in it. I'm not sure if they're real amethyst. If they are, it's a really nice stones in it because they're really big. But, you know, once you've known a little bit about these, this is a sash buckle. It would have been stitched on for a lady, 1920s, 30s, maybe even up into the 40s. I usually put it a little later just in case. I don't want to understate or overstate something. I try to get it as close to the date as possible, but I don't want to say 20s when I'm not 100% sure. I know for sure this is 30s or 40s. But anyway, another one. Now this is an interesting piece. Those are chunks of jade, gold tone bracelet with jade chunks in it. Rather interesting. Now this one I would say was probably 20s too, but again, I'm putting 30s or 40s. I don't want to say it's 20s and not be 100% sure. Some of these it's really hard to tell. This is an earlier one, so 20s, 30s I would really guess, but you know, you never know on some of these. And that one did sell for the asking price. Here's another one item that sold for the asking price. And I've talked about these forks. I may have even shown these in a haul video. But these average for like $8-10. That's usually what these sell for across the board. I throw every one up for at least $24.50 to $27.50. I may not sell them immediately. Usually if I got like 10 or 20 of these in a lot, which I do get them that way too. This lot here, I want to say I got like 9 or 10 all at the same time. And I have 50 cents into each one of these. This one, as I said, did go for $27.50. And as I was saying, we'll usually list them $24.50 or $27.50. If it's heading into winter, $27.50 is better, just because there's a higher chance of it selling higher during the winter. And again, as I said, I sold this for almost 3 times what the normal price is. And again, look it up yourself if you have a question on that. This is a 3-tine fork. The size, the dimensions, the construction. If you've seen a couple of these, you can really know for sure that this is the real deal. Civil War, for sure, no doubt about it. Just by construction alone, it's got the rivets in there, hand constructed and hand put together. So rather interesting. Wooden handles. This one's seen some age. Now sometimes you can find maker's marks on these, and they're worth even more. But average, I usually get $18-20 on most every one of these that I get, and they sell. So anyway. Next item here, another photo. Now, I've sold a bunch of photos. I don't have as many photos in here this time. I try to mix it up a little bit. Usually I don't show pottery and records, and I've got a couple records in here, as I said. So people ask for some more diversity, so I'm going to show you some diversity here. This one I got like $18.50, I want to say, for. And again, I've had some of these up for a while, but I literally have like a dime in each one of these, and they're already paid for, because the first week I put these up, I sold like 60 or 70 of these photos. And that's usually how it goes. If you get 300-400 photos, and that's not a strange thing to do. Usually I'll find them in big box lots somewhere, and I can find these quite often, surprisingly enough. So anyway, let's move on here. I sold some military. I sold 5 or 6 actor photos as well too. So maybe like 15 or 20 photos minimum this week alone, just photos. This is a mid-grade one here, this record. Elmore James always sells. I don't remember what I put for the condition on it. The record is in VG, so it's about mid-grade average. As long as it still plays, you can get away with a mid-grade VG. But again, $45 on this one. This one was another $45. This one's probably mid-grade, I think I put on it too. I think I wrote that one down here. Yeah, VG mid-grade. And that's what I usually put, when they've been played well and they still have issues. You're pretty safe putting mid-grade VG on most records. I'd rather undergrade it than overgrade it, just FYI. I'd rather give away a few bucks to make sure the person's happy. But again, another $45. Lighters, I've showed lighters. I sell a couple a week usually. This one was up for maybe I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 months. Just because of the bugs is the only reason I actually even bought it. I want to say it was marked. Wasn't it marked? Yeah, there's some markings on the bottom too. So it was a rather interesting item. And I don't remember who made it at this point. But anyway, it was pretty good. It sold for $17. They paid shipping, literally just because of the beetles on it. But let's move on here. And that was like $1. I usually pay $1 for most lighters. I don't remember what I took on this one. I want to say like 60 or 70 bucks. This one's engraved. It was up for a little while. I sold it to somebody who's bought thousands of dollars worth of cards from me just this year. So, you know, I do breaks, bigger breaks than I normally would on some items. But again, it's still, I still got a third of what I listed it for, which was usually what I want to get out of most of these type of cards. I'll list them 3 times what I expect. And another perfect example, 55 bucks I took on it. But again, I took 55, which is a third of what my asking price is. So anyway, let's move on here. Parts and pieces. Now I've showed some of these. I took 30 bucks out of just these little pieces here. I believe I showed this big haul of G.I. Joe junk that I got. Altogether, I've gotten almost $370 or $380, I want to say, out of the profit-wise anyway, back out of these. And I still have some lots still to sell. Maybe it's even higher than that. I know I sold a bunch of them right off the bat. Yeah, I think it's more like $450 or $460 now that I think about it, because I did sell like all the big lots right off the bat. Somebody bought them all for like $250 or $260. But anyway, let's move on here. Comic books again, and I sold quite a few comic books this week. I sold some to Canada, and a couple went to France. I sold a bunch of the Spider-Man ones, and some of the television ones. Somebody didn't turn these. I think this is one of the employees that was listing these when they first started. These have been up for like 4 months, I would say. And it did go for $19.50. And again, I pay $1 for all of these style of comic books or less if I buy them in bulk. And I know for sure that all the ones I've been selling, I got $1 in or less. So anyway, I usually make good money on these. Most people pass on the later issues of comic books. And then I usually swoop back in later on and buy all the ones they consider junk for $1. I don't make maybe as much as they do, but I'm not going to fight the crowds and fight for some of these comics. And that's what you have to do to get the killer ones. I'm fine with playing it safe and playing it plain and relaxed and laid back, because I still make a ton of money off of them. You know, you pay $1, you sell it for $19.50. You're making, you know, like $16 profit on most average comic books. At least these vintage 10, 12-cent covers. Now this person bought 2 of these. It's not in a great condition, so I did let it go for $12.50 for this one. And then these are just luggage labels too. And I bought a bunch of these from somebody. And then here's another one that's much nicer condition. Actually, I'll take that back. That one was $10 and this one was $12.50. So altogether $22.50 for 2 labels that I have maybe 50 cents a piece into. Maybe not even that much, because I bought them in a lot. I do remember buying these in a lot. So anyway, in auction actually, as a matter of fact. More jewelry, $24.50. And they're nothing really fancy or special. They're just vintage, probably 50s or 60s. Earrings and the pendant, as you can see. Matching set. Matching sets usually sell. Those are usually what I'd take over anything else. Or a bracelet or a nice fancy necklace. I have some videos on costume jewelry. I just haven't had a chance to finish editing them all to get them up, but I will have some costume jewelry videos this week here too, as well as some other things too coming up, some interesting ones. I've got another bolo coming out tomorrow or Monday. Wednesday I've got the critique, and then hopefully maybe Thursday I can do a well, actually I got live on Thursday, so maybe Friday I can do costume jewelry. This one sold straight out $19.99. A lot of these earthquake ones aren't big sellers, but this one has the power station remnants in it, so which is the big building with the smokestack in it. You can see there. But again, some of these cards sell well. Average price is like $4 or $5 for most of these. I got 20 out of this one, but I got like 50 some odd cards from the earthquake and the fire that ensued from San Francisco, 1906, 1907 era. And most of them will sit for a little while, but I sold quite a few, enough to make me a very large profit, a couple $100 from just a few that I sold. And then the rest I'll keep up for maybe another month or so. And then I'll just mark them down to half what I had them on. And then that way they're still over nearly double what they usually sell for. So I can still have some playroom and then just sell them, you know, with the playroom for the price that the rest of the ones, the comps, go for. So anyway, let's move on here. Magazines, I sold, I think, 1 or 2 every day this week. They're not huge movers, as I've said before, but, I get $1 for them. That's what I pay for them, and then I sell them for 10, 12, 14, 15, 20, 30, 40 bucks. This one sold for 12, so, I got like $10 profit out of this after all fees and everything's been paid for. They pay for shipping, as always, on every item that I have. I do not pay for shipping. Shipping is not included in any item I do. With antiques, collectibles, and vintage, you can get away with it way more than you can with other items. Most people aren't worried about that. They know they're going to have to pay shipping. It's not like clothing. They don't have to wear this. This is extra money they are spending as it is. So I do better on these, and I do put higher price than other people. This is like a $6 magazine. You can look it up. It's a specific one from a boat show. So, I know what this one goes for. I've had a couple of this same one, and it's from this local area too. So, I've seen it many times. And I usually buy it if it's $1 or less. Paper toys. Now, I've talked about paper toys. These are like cutouts of some kind. I had some cowboys and Indians as well. And I sell most of these fairly well. This one went for like $22 for the set of 5 of these. Again, they're just little pieces of paper. They came with some paper dolls. And I talk about paper dolls a lot. The earlier, the better. These are like 1890s. And, people would have added these to paper dolls, and they would have had like a Zoom and Azure set. So, anyway. And I've talked about these two before. These are marks. They're rubber. They go to the tin play sets, the playhouses, like a family playhouse or something. I've sold the furniture that goes to these sets. I've showed those in hauls. I've showed this in hauls. It did go for $39.99. I got like $1 into this from like a bag on the wall at Savers or something. So, or maybe Goodwill. I've had it for a little while. I just listed it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I do hold on to things. I try to list a bunch of these vintage toys all at once. I showed how to clean these up too. The legs of the gentleman second from the left, I've cleaned the right leg with just an eraser. So a lot of these, I could have cleaned it up, but I'll leave that to the person who buys them. If they're into these, chances are they know that they can be cleaned that way. I wasn't just going to waste a eraser on something. And again, they did sell for 40 bucks as you see them. So anyway. And I've showed some of these photos here. This is a photo. This is not a postcard. This is just a photo of the girls' Christmas presents. Now, I had a bunch of these. I think I got 1 or 2 different images left from this series. But again, out of this series, the set that I got, and again, this is just somebody's home photos. Nothing special. I got like 15 or 20 out of each one, and I think I took $17.50. Yeah, $17.50 out of this one. So you can see the tint ornaments on there too as well. There's like that big huge round with an angel's head in it. This is actually a really nice looking tree. It's a shame this wasn't in color. This would have been a killer image here with the dolls she got. There's some kind of stand-up toy on the left on the table. It's just a real nice lot of toys that she got. And the other one showed a ton of other toys too. Usually if you get some early photos with toys, they sell, especially as you're getting closer to Christmas. So again, $17.50 for something. I bought a collection of photos from one of my pickers. He got them from some estate. And it was just a random bag of photos. There was like 8 or 10 photos, all of the girls' Christmas from the same era. Most of them were dated, so I can pretty much tell it was between 29 and 33. So, again, good items here. It's just paper, pennies into it. And, I've made like 60 or 70 back from the ones I've sold. Maybe... And again, I've made like $80 to $100 back out of just the ones I've sold, and I still have some left. So they've been paid for. I've made a profit of 60 or so bucks. All the fees have been paid. Everything's been paid. The person who bought it pays for shipping. So again, it's a huge profit margin, at least 80% on these items. And the last item, this one's something I had up for like a year and 2 months or so. So, I've got like 60 cents or 55 cents in listing this. And this is a $1 item, so it's nothing special. You have to know how to look some of these up. I didn't know what it was, but it looked like an artsy piece. It's actually marked there. Whenever I see stuff like this for $1, sometimes I'll look it up when I'm there. Not always, but for $1, I says, what the heck? It's Humpty Dumpty. It's a nursery rhyme, so, I knew it was going to sell. Almost any nursery rhyme item like this will sell. And this is the whole item. There's not a pair of these. It's not a bookend or anything. It's literally just a little figurine kind of thing. And it did sell for, actually, I think I took $17.50 on this one. So, again, that's just some of the items we sold. It's a small representation of all of what we sold. I've got 2 anchor stores that I sell a ton of stuff in, and then a premium store that we sell, a handful of things here and there. But we mostly use the other one for tests and stuff, and some high dollar oddball items that I'd rather just not share with folks or tie to our other stores. So, anyway, that's what I have for you today.
Well, there you go. That's some of what we sold. Again, our sales are up. Hopefully everybody else's is too. I've just showed you some random items for our one anchor store. We do have 2 of them. And again, it's just a random mix of items. So hopefully that gave you some ideas. Hopefully it gave you some knowledge, some increased items to look for. I tried to, as I said, throw some sourcing information and some information on the items themselves. So hopefully that was helpful. But if you liked the video, please hit the like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified when we post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell a friend.